All right. I guess there's lag on Twitch. Oh yeah, there we go.
A little bit.
There's so much lag. All right. So hi everyone. I'm Danielle Lozon. I'm going to be running a character creation session for Trinity Continuum today for my 4 players. So if all of my players could introduce themselves, we'll start with Travis.
Hello, I am Travis Legg. I am the programming coordinator for Onyx Path's Twitch channel, the Scarredlands line developer, but today I am making a Trinity Continuum character and I'm super stoked about it.
Chris.
Hello, my name's Chris Walls. I am a freelance tabletop role-playing game writer, editor, designer, all that good stuff. I've worked on Scarred Lands, have some DM Guild stuff out there, and do a lot of work with Cubicle 7 Entertainment. And today, I too am making a Trinity Continuum character.
Rachel.
Hello, my name is Rachel. I do things with words and games in Los Angeles, probably a lot like Chris. Yeah, you can find my stuff mostly on Storyteller's Vault. I've got a couple things in the works for DM's Guild, a couple things that I'm working on for other projects. Yeah, it's a lot. And today I'm making a character. I'm really excited to kick the tires of this system.
And then
Milena.
I don't want to mispronounce your name.
Everyone does, so never worry about that. I'm Milena. I'm a comic book artist, an illustrator, colorist in Chicago. I color the comic Floppy Cop. In my only D&D experience or role-playing experience is a small Vampire the Masquerade stint in college. And I play in Extreme Drowess, with which Travis DMs every other week. And today we're creating a Trinity character, and I'm so excited.
This will be your first time since college in a different system than D&D.
Yep.
It's exciting.
All right. Well, I hope that it lives up to your expectations then. All right. So we are going to start with what you start with for all character creation, which is a concept. I'm going to do a really quick breakdown of what Trinity Continuum is for you, just so that you can kind of think about what you would want to play in this system or in this setting. The idea is that the Trinity Continuum is set in the modern day, just a hair's breadth in the future of where we are right now. It's not even in aberrant future, which is a couple of years in the future. It is on the very edge of our current timeline. It is tomorrow, essentially. And the kinds of things that are going on in this setting is the reason it's called Trinity Continuum, and the continuum concept is that the game is our world, but different. And what is different about our world in this world is it's a little more hopeful. It's a little more heroic. It's a little more dynamic. And there's weird stuff. And one of the weird things is that the concept of parallel dimensions, the concept of dozens of yous and dozens of different parallel dimensions, or just a dimension just on the other side of us that is so completely different that it would be completely unrecognizable from our own, isn't just a theory in the Trinity Continuum. It is a fact, and it is something that affects our characters intricately. You're going to be playing talents, and talents are people who have been affected by a force in the world. In the core, we call it flux, but really it's also called inspiration. So you have an inspiration stat on your character sheet. What this is this kind of a part of the continuum, the interdimensional continuum that exists, has touched your character somehow. It might have happened at birth. It might have happened through some chance happenstance. But once it happened, you became something more than a normal human. you don't necessarily know that you have these powers at your command. You just seem a little luckier than most. You seem a little more skilled than most. You're like a normal human, but you're the kind of person that you get into a bad car crash and you're the only one who comes out unscathed. Somebody shoots bullets at you and not a single one of them will hit you. You shoot a gun you've never picked up before and you hit somebody right between the eyes. You are just a little more exceptional than a normal person. And it's noticeable, but easily written off as just, wow, that person's really lucky. So that is what we're doing. And a lot of the games that you can run in this system are kind of competent adventurers, or think like 24 or what is Leverage, things like that,
Yeah.
where you're very competent at what you do, like supernaturally so, but nobody around you realizes that. So that's what this game is. And we're going to be playing in the modern day. So when you're making up a character and you're thinking up a concept, think of that as like, what would you like to play in a game where you're a hyper competent, super skilled person? To help us come up with concepts. And as we do character creation, we're going to talk about like the things your characters want to do in this world. And that will help define what our one shot is going to look like. I'm going to ask you some questions as we go through character creation to kind of help solidify what as a group we want to play through. So you don't need to define your concept fully right now, but you should kind of think about what it is you want to be playing so that it can help you answer all the other questions about character creation. So I'm going to ask, does anybody have a concept in mind?
I do.
Okay.
You referenced Leverage, and I got to do a little bit of writing for In Media Res, one of the Trinity supplements. I did the Hollywood adventure.
Okay. Cool.
Anyway, so I watched a lot of Leverage to get inspiration for that.
Okay.
And the concept I'm sort of working on right now is an international fixer, like the Elliot character.
Okay.
So
I like
half
that, yeah.
spy, half saboteur. My idea is that she was a political science major going on study abroad, some kind of internship. Things got weird, and that's how she sort of came into her own.
Okay, cool. Does anybody else have a concept?
Yeah, I just thought of something that would be cool. When you said like, what would you want to be doing? And I want to be a cat burglar spy. So
all right, a cat burglar. I love just cat burglar and spy.
Like ex-spy, cat burglar, like Catwoman without the powers.
There's an allegiance. There's an allegiance specifically for you too. So when we get to that point, I'll tell you. So
nice. Yeah, that's what I want. And then I think a long-term goal would be to become like Carmen Sandiego or something.
Yes, very cool.
Have you seen the new Carmen Sandiego?
Yes, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
Excellent. All right, anybody else have a cool concept they want to share?
So I think I am going to make a fairly obvious callback to like 1980s action heroes and be like the disenchanted former like special ops guy turned criminal. And I mean, we've all seen Escape from New York. It's Snake Plissken.
Okay.
Right? So
I like it.
That basic idea of just kind of an over the top but action hero but anti-hero sort of cliche,
Excellent. All right, Travis.
Well, I think leaning into the borrowing from my 80s childhood, I'm thinking I would like to do like a B.A. Baracus from the A-Team. So like just this super super tough dude, but who has a few like paralyzing fears. Um, maybe like an ex-military. I got framed for something, and so now I'm, still trying to do good, but I'm kind of on the lam.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like based on what everybody has said for what they want to do for their concept is that this group is kind of several anti-heroes who are working together. And when I say anti-heroes, I don't mean like you're bad guys, but you're reluctantly heroes because I'm a criminal.
We're the boys,
right? Yeah. Like, man, I guess it's gonna have to be me because nobody else is doing this stuff. But
right.
I'd really rather be, busting up shit or stealing stuff or any of the other things I would normally be doing. So, all right.
Sweet.
So great. So now that we have a concept, I want you to keep that in mind for everything else that we're going to talk about. So we will come back to this, but we're going to talk about aspirations, and these are kind of part of your concept. You're going to get 2 short-term aspirations, and short-term aspirations are something that are going to be accomplished essentially within a scene, definitely within a game session. So these are things that you want your character to accomplish. It's a goal, but it's also a way for you to tell me what you want to be doing in the game. So when you talk about a character's aspirations, yes, it's what the character wants to accomplish, but this is how you signal to me the kinds of things you want to see happen in the game. So a short-term aspiration could be, could be something as simple as, you have a cat burglar spy, you would like to be able to break into a building. That is your short-term aspiration is to break in somewhere. It could be something at like find a secret, from somebody. It could be something like, some of the examples that we have in the book are use your words for once, solve a problem with science, have a heart-to-heart with someone. So these are small things that are going to happen in a scene, but they're things that you would like to see your character do. And you have 2 of these, and then you have a long-term aspiration. And this is going to be something that's going to take maybe a session or more to achieve. Because we're going to do a one-shot, this should be something that you think you would like to have accomplished by the end of that one-shot session. So, the examples there are a little more long-term, but it could be something as simple as, pull off a high-price score, or, uncover an allegiance's secret, something like that. It's something that's going to take several steps to accomplish. These long-term aspirations can be completely individual, or you could work together to kind of make similar long-term aspirations. If you do that, then whenever the goal is met, then everybody has accomplished their long-term aspiration. That's a cool way to do it, because if you're doing this as chronicle play, long-term aspirations, essentially once you've accomplished a long-term aspiration, you get experience points for it, which you can spend, but you can't really accomplish another long-term aspiration until everybody else on the team has accomplished a long-term aspiration. So if you sync those up to, this is what we as a team are working on right now, then you'll all accomplish them together, and then you can set another long-term aspiration, but you don't have to do that. So it's totally up to you. If you have some ideas of things you want your characters to do right now, go ahead and jot them down and let me know. But this is also something that we can come back to once we finish making the characters. Some things that we do, like once we talk about paths and backgrounds and stuff like that, may help you think about the things your characters want to do in the game. So I'll stop and ask, does anybody have anything off the top of their head that they know they want to try to get done in the game?
Yes.
Elena.
I want to steal something shiny, and I want to pull off a cool stunt.
Okay. Those sound like great short-term aspirations. Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I have one short-term aspiration so far, which is to be the last one out of a dangerous situation. So to get everybody else out, I'm working on the other ones. And just for clarification, so for like stuff like the way that the long-term aspirations work, things that are massively overarching, like clear my name, are generally not the best of choices for those, correct?
I mean, if it's something, well, no, it would be if, if this wasn't a one shot, if this was a chronicle, right? And you wanted clear my name, then that would mean in the next couple of sessions, we're going to be gearing the story towards you clearing your name.
Okay, so that's something that if you wanted something that was going to be more of like a over several arcs thing, you wouldn't want to choose that as your long-term aspiration.
Right. Yeah. You could start building up to it, right? You could be like, find out who framed me.
Right.
And then the next one could be, get dirt on them. And then the last one could be clear my name, right? So you could build that into steps.
That's cool. I like that. And I think I'll find out who framed me as my first long-term aspiration.
Excellent.
Unless the group wanted to do a group aspiration.
I mean, it would be kind of cool if we've all been framed for something we didn't do.
That would be cool. Absolutely. And maybe
That's
you were all
up for-
framed together and that's why you're working together.
Yeah.
Yeah, find out who framed us.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. I was thinking something around like for a short term, something like do something worthy of being on YouTube, right? Like some sort of like.
I feel like that could be a short term.
Oh yeah. It was gonna be a short term, yeah.
Yeah.
And a long term, which I think this could probably kind of fit into a group aspiration anyhow, of prove that I'm not dead. So I was thinking like for some reason something in his past has led the world at large to believe that he should be dead. And there's an aspiration to,
I mean, I feel like that could
undo
tie easily into the find out who framed the group.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
If you want to make that one your specific long-term goal, I think essentially the whole thing could come together at the same time.
Maybe there was some sort of I'm just shooting from the hip here, but maybe there was some sort of like some sort of explosion and the character was presumed dead, and maybe the other characters here somehow fit into that. Maybe Travis's character was seen leaving the scene, and like we can all figure that stuff out. But
sure,
that's cool.
So I had one aspiration, but as this has developed, I've come up with something else. So I'm thinking that this character, like she had some sort of mentor, someone who taught her how to do what she knows how to do, and he believes that he believes the frame job.
Okay.
And so her aspiration is finding out some way to prove to her mentor, it wasn't me, I didn't do it.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, so like she doesn't really care what the media thinks of her, but like this one guy, she can't stand that he thinks badly of her.
Okay. I like that. Do you have any short-term things that you have thought of? I mean, it's okay if you don't. That's
I think that she probably had a very like middle class upbringing, and now she's among these ne'er-do-wells, and she's got to figure out like what do I think of these people? Am I okay sort of operating not necessarily on the wrong side of the law, but on the gray side?
okay. Cool.
So I know that's a lot of rich internal landscaping, but I'll try to externalize it.
Yeah, keep it in your mind as we go through paths, and something that you say while you go through your paths may help you with that. So all right. So the next thing. Oh yeah, sorry.
Just another quick question about short-term aspirations, and this is as much for my edification in running Trinity Continuum going forward as it is in making this character. What are your thoughts on somewhat easily achievable player-driven short-term aspirations? Like again, because I am utterly lacking in original thought today and stealing my character whole cloth from B.A. Baracus,
Sure.
I would like to have one of my short-term aspirations be to pity some fool. So like if you have if you have a catchphrase or something like that, and finding the right moment to use it, would that be a short-term aspiration?
So yeah. So here's the thing. Short-term aspirations are ways for you to essentially tie yourself to the setting and want to get engaged. The benefit for achieving a short-term aspiration is that you get an experience point. But when everyone achieves a short-term aspiration, everyone gets an additional experience points. So having these kind of easily accomplished goals that either reinforce your character's like personality or reinforce your character as an entity in the setting is perfectly fine.
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh. This is gonna be fun.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about paths. And this will help, I think, continue to define our character further. So your character has 3 paths. And what a path is that it's a way that your character is tied to the world itself. These are the people that, like, this is how you grew up, this is what you do, these are the people you associate with. And the way that a path works is that you get some benefit from being a part of the path. Essentially, you can call on, if you grew up middle class in a, WASP in, middle class America, you have other people who grew up in that, either in your neighborhood or your, where you went to school or things like that you could call on for certain things, maybe information, maybe they can go do something for you. If you're ex-military, then you also have, your military bros. They will go out on a limb for you because you served together or whatever else. So here's how we define essentially what ties your character to the setting in a way that is actionable for your character. And there are some benefits for each of the paths. So you get an origin path, and this is how you grew up. This is where you come from. An origin path doesn't have to necessarily be like where you were born, so much as like the most influential parts of your upbringing and your life. The role path is what your character does. Okay, so if you are now a criminal / spy, that is your role. Okay, if you're ex-military but now a criminal, you could do military as your role, or you could do criminal as your role and do some kind of military origin path, right? Because that's what you're doing now is your role. And then the allegiances, so society path is we're going to pick an allegiance, and this is the group that your character belongs to. Now, when we think about society paths, not your characters don't all have to belong to the same allegiance to be in a group together and act together. We can do that. We can all be part of the same organization, and there are some criminal organizations that you can be a part of. Or you could all just be from different organizations and acting essentially together for whatever reason. You were all framed for the same incident and now you have to work together. So don't worry about trying to pick a society like allegiance that is the same for everybody. That's okay if you don't do that. So I'm going to go through. You should have the book, but the paths themselves are after the character creation stuff. So that starts on page 41. You can pick one of these paths if you want, or you could always just make up your own. Making up your own will require a little bit of work in this system just because you have to pick some skills and edges. But it's not that hard. But if you don't see a path that you think is useful or that you want to pick, we tried to have a pretty broad range of types of things that you could pick from. But if you don't see something that you like, then we can always make up one. We could also reskin one and keep its edges and skills, but like essentially reskin it as something else. which would change like who you have access to and who your connections are. So
I think, not to leap too far ahead, but I think I've got my origin and role figured out. I think I'm going to do Street Rat origin and combat specialist for role.
okay.
For mine, origin path, would something like I'm supposed to be in class right now work?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do that. And let's see. When you say that, what do you mean by that?
Sort of, her identity is sort of wrapped up in her being a college student, and she's been shoved out of that life. And this sort of dovetails with her aspiration of trying to figure out like what comes next and what she is now. And so she probably still has covert connections to her former classmates. She feels really at home on a college campus or in libraries and things like that.
Okay. I think for ease of character creation, we could do one of two things. We can either just make that a path real quick, grab some skills and then points and edges and call it a day, or we could reskin the suburbia origin, because I think that the edges that it gives and the skills that it gives map to like kind of like
Okay,
a
let's do
college
that
life
then.
pretty well.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll reskin the suburban one.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm looking at street rat and combat specialist as well, but maybe changing some stuff around just so that I'm not, mechanically a copy of another character, at least for this, for this part. So that's what I'm looking at right now. I think street rat is probably good to go as is, but I might change up combat specialist if that's okay.
Yep, that's perfectly fine.
As far as which skills I'd want to like swap out, I'm still looking at that.
And if it if it helps in terms of differentiating the two, I'm planning on putting my focus from combat specialist entirely into like hand to hand, and also going integrity wise. Like, you know what I mean? Like I get in people's faces and punch them. I probably don't use firearms.
Right, and I'm looking at like firearms and like vehicles as being
right on. Yeah.
A prime skill. So maybe we don't have to change it too much, and we'll just be different in the fact that our focuses will be different. So
yeah, I mean that's the other thing is like you're only going to pick 3 of those skills of the 4 that are listed, and you're also only going to get 2 points worth of edges. So
good point. Yeah.
Well,
you're going to.
Good point.
And just for clarification, you get 3 dots within those skills, right? Not 3 skills. Okay.
Yes. So you're gonna essentially you have those 4 skills to choose from, but you're gonna assign 3 dots
out of those skills, right?
Yeah. So you could do
like
2
2
and
1, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't get a trick until, I'm probably skipping way ahead, but you don't get a skill trick until 3 dots anyway, right? So it's somewhat unlikely that you begin with a skill trick. Is that kind of?
Sort of. You may have some overlap, and you also have some dots to assign after so each of your paths is going to give you 3 dots of skills that you can play with from those 4 skills. But then you're going to have essentially you're going to end up with, I think, 15 dots of skills at the end. So you're going to have another 6 dots to assign 2. Is that correct? Yes. I have to go back up to character creation. I don't want to say the wrong thing. It has changed so much.
Pilot is for all sorts of vehicles, right?
Pilot is for any kind of vehicle
Awesome.
that needs you to pilot it, including like a horse.
Awesome. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Good to know. Mine is really easy because it's just basically all here for me.
That's fine.
Is adventurer, origin, and then the sneak roll.
Excellent.
That feels. For a second, I was like, maybe I'll be like a rich kid, then I can just be Batman. But but it doesn't give me the skills that I need to be good at what I do.
Right.
So, adventure it is. And nothing says that I can't be a rich adventurer. Like,
no,
like going skiing in the Alps every summer.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the charismatic leader as being the role that's closest to what I want to do.
Okay, that sounds good. And I would like to know because that could be honestly a leader of anything. What do you envision your character as the charismatic leader of?
So because she has a suburban background, she's not quite a Karen, but her mom's probably a Karen. And so she just sort of has this assumption of entitlement, like, oh yeah, of course you're going to listen to me because my ideas are the best. And also I've been going to school for this stuff. So she knows a lot of theory and principle, but she's got to work it out in practice a bit, I think.
Okay. I mean, this is your role. So essentially this is your job. And you said just your character is like a fixer, essentially, right? So maybe you're a team lead. Or even a boss at this point of that kind of thing, right?
Sure.
Excellent. Okay, and then we have to skip over to the core reference booklet that I sent you, just because these paths, while it doesn't have a full write-up of what each of the allegiances is, I can kind of run down what they are for you. But they're essentially their path, like edges and skills and stuff are in that booklet, so we don't have to go to the back of the book and read through every single allegiance just to find their path information. Which, had I thought about it, I would have put them in the character creation section, but alas, it is too late. All right. So I will just really quickly run through the allegiances, and then if you hear one that you think works for your idea, then just jot it down, and then we can go through it at the end.
Awesome.
So 9 is a Black Ops military-esque. They're more paramilitary. They used to be associated with the government, but now they are their own entity. But they are they're where your ex-military would be. They are in your essentially people who do things on a military level but don't have government oversight, which is kind of nice. And Society is a philanthropist society. They are they're in a very old allegiance that are essentially started in the 1920s. Also, 9 also started in the 1920s, but not in its current version. And Society absolutely scouts talents, anybody who's extraordinarily skilled at the thing that they do. They're mostly philanthropists, so they do good works throughout the world as best they can, but their actions are mostly geared towards finding the most talented and wonderful and exceptional people, even if they are not actual big capital T talents, and bringing them in to try to make the world a better place. That's their goal, make the world a better place. Archangel is an organization that essentially likes to swoop in and fix a problem as it's happening. So they are the people who, so like somebody loses a family member, a house to a fire, Archangel will come in and help them rebuild. Somebody will have like an unsolved crime, the cops don't want to investigate, Archangel agents will come in and investigate. They're about helping the little people and finding justice where justice is not necessarily a thing that that happens all the time. Global
think.
You think?
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
I think I would like to be allied with them.
Okay, that sounds good. We're going to move on. So Global Cartography Initiative are essentially people who still want to explore the uncharted parts of the world. They are archaeologists at heart, but they're also like mapping the weird parts of the world where that dimensional, we talked about kind of a continuum of, dimensions or parallel universes. And there are places where those things are weak, and there are places where the divide between one dimension and another is almost non-existent. And so these people like try to find those places and map them and understand them. Neptune Foundation is another philanthropist activity. They are crisis management humans, essentially. If there is a current crisis, they are the people on the scene trying to help solve the crisis. They are trying to dig miners out of collapsed tunnels. They are, they're spelunking in caves trying to save, people who are trapped inside of it. They are a bomb squad going in trying to defuse a bomb. They're firefighters, they're paramedics, they're rescue workers. That is their main drive. The Pharaoh's Lightkeepers are another one of these kind of groups who they're like para investigators. They find weird stuff and try to investigate it. Not necessarily in the way that the Global Cartography Initiative does. Essentially, they're trying to prevent people from having too much interaction with weird dimensional anomalies. They're also super secretive, and people don't know a whole lot about them. Then we have lesser allegiances. So Alert Status 1 are a spy organization. They're a spy organization. So that's the best way to put it. I'm going to mispronounce this. Le Revolte e Calante. They are essentially people, again, philanthropists who are about helping the poor and the people who are at the lowest totem of the class pole to become essentially overcome their problems. So these are people who help with labor unions. These are people who help with Antifa, essentially, things like that. Les Fantômes. Les Fantômes is cat burglars. They are essentially a criminal organization. Yes. They are a criminal organization who are essentially Ocean's 11. They steal stuff for the purpose of fame and glory. They take, they steal really big name things so that people can and then this thing got stolen, and then they'll put their imprint on the thing they stole. Then National Office of Emergency Research. So these people are like Neptune Foundation, but instead of helping with all sorts of things, they only help with weird anomaly bullshit. So if an anomaly breaks out and weird shit is happening, these people will come and kind of try to clean it up and contain things as best they can, and also want to research it and understand these anomalies and what's going on with these weird parallel dimension stuff. Thesis Club are essentially kind of the last vestiges of a bounty hunter, big game hunter style club that specifically tries to take down bad guys as their way of doing that, or bad anomaly things. Transcendent Alliance. Oh man, these I'm getting into the ones that I don't know very well. Transcendent Alliance is, I'm gonna, dang it. I thought I could just type it into the search bar and find it. Hold please. Okay, so these people are so they're researchers and they're wealthy people, and they're specifically looking in the for transcendence, like human transcendence. So they're scientists and geneticists and things like that essentially are investigating and researching things to try to find human transcendence into something above human. So, the Y Transcendent Alliance, while an excellent choice for ambiguous allies or occasional opponents, the Transcendent Alliance is a good choice for characters with a scientific bent. Some members traffic in human organs, are involved in other equally dubious activities, though there's no requirement that members perform immoral or illegal research. So, and then the Triton Foundation is essentially a smaller version of Aeon Society. And so they are focused on humanitarian aid and medical advancements. And that is how that's how they do their philanthropy. So they go to soup kitchens, they do humanitarian aid works. Neptune Foundation is also it's at the other side of that, on a helping on the other end of those things. So did that help anyone? I know I got two people who said I want to be associated with these things. What about Travis and Chris?
I'm leaning toward the 9.
Okay.
Most likely.
Okay.
And I'm thinking Archangel, probably.
Okay, so we have two people who are interested in Archangel. I'm assuming, Melina, that Le Fantôme is for you. The Le Fantôme?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what
I was
assumed.
nodding vigorously.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I wasn't looking at the chat. I was just like.
No, it's my bad. I should realize that.
That's fine.
Yes.
All right.
Bring me Ocean's 8. I'm gonna be Aquafina.
Yes. All right. Cool. So then, based on that, you can go through and mark. So now the way that you do that is you get 3 skill dots from among the 4 skills in each of your 3 paths. And then let me back to character creation.
So if 2 of your paths or 3, all 3 of them, if they have the same skill, can you?
You can bring that skill up. You just can't go above 5 in any skill.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
So you could grab, 2. You could assign 2 of your dots from one path into it, and then 2 of your dots from another path into it, and then 1 of your dots from another path into it, and start with 5 if you want.
Gotcha. And last question from the noob. Is there any way to towards like the end of character creation probably to just buy like additional dots? Because for example, I really want like a dot or maybe 2 dots in pilot.
That's about to happen.
Great. Okay. As long as I can eventually buy a dot in pilot somehow, I'll be very happy.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's not a problem. That's about to happen. So now that we've picked our paths, so you're going to get 3 skill dots to assign from essentially pick those 4 skills, assign 3 skill dots however you want within them. Then you're going to get 2 dots worth of edges. So some of the edges you need to, this is a thing I should have done in the paths themselves, but it's not until you get to making characters with a group of people online that you realize maybe things you should have done differently. Some of these are like wealth, fame, patron are rated 1 through 5. So you could assign 1 dot in one of those or 2 dots in one of those. Some though are this is a 2 dot edge. And so if you pick it up, that will be your 2 dots. And I don't think there are many of them there are very few that are just 2 dots. So we'll have to go down to the edges to make sure that you didn't accidentally overgrab.
So I've got a systems question.
Sure.
When assigning my free dot, is it better to be focused on 1 or 2 skills or to be more spread out?
So you're a talent. You're going to be playing a talent, which means that you're going to have gifts that allow you to, if you pick them, allow you to substitute some skill roll for maybe another one.
Okay.
Not all the time though. So it's honestly however you would like to do it is kind of, there's no wrong way to build a character. So you're not going to wind up with, that weird situation where, I started with a 1 and everything, and now it's harder to buy up my things because I didn't start with a 5. Like the XP cost is exactly the same no matter what level you're buying it at for new dots. But it may be worth trying to get like some 3s in a thing so that you can pick up skill tricks. And this would be better advice for a chronicle as opposed to a one-shot, where you have like the ability to spend XP later, right? Mostly because I will say though that focusing isn't going to hurt you. If you have essentially a 0 in some skill, you'll still be able to roll your attribute to try to get it done. And you may have gifts that let you compensate.
Cool, thank you.
I'm sorry, how many dots of edges again?
2.
Two. Okay.
For
cool.
each path, right? So if two different paths
Right.
give you, say, like wealth, you could start with wealth 4.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, it's 2 per path. Okay.
2 per path. Yes, each path gives you 2 dots of the edges listed in the path.
So for instance, if I have, say, aim in my adventure thing and aim in the sneak, I can put like 3 and 3 and have like 6 aim.
Well, you can't. You can't.
Well, no, because of 5. I'm just saying,
right,
like,
yeah. But you could put 3. Yeah, you could put 3 and 2 and start with a 5. Absolutely.
Okay, so, but I can only pick 3 out of the 4 skills that I have, right?
Right.
So if I wanted to put 1 point in each skill, I would pick 3 skills and put 1 point in each.
Yes.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. And then another thing that I'm going to make you do while you're assigning points is think about a contact. Somebody in the community, a connection essentially, from each of your paths that is like the person that you have like a strong connection to, that when you need information or things like that, you essentially, this is a person, an individual, and you don't need to necessarily give them a full name right now. But if it's like, hey, I have this FBI agent that I'm good friends with, or I have this ex-military buddy who still like is in the military and does things for me, something like that. And you're going to essentially get one of these contacts per path. And there's some examples of the kind of connections and communities that you could be connected to in each of the paths. So if you want to pull from there, that's perfectly fine.
And obviously, like if something's a 2-dot edge, like a journaling spike, which is part of Street Rat, right. I couldn't, like if I took a journaling spike through Street Rat, like that's it. That's my 2 dots, right?
Yes, that's your 2 dots. Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry if these are obvious questions. I just want to make sure I'm not cheating the system somehow.
Nope, you're perfectly fine. They're not necessarily obvious questions.
Cool. I think I've got my edges sorted for my paths.
Okay.
So I took Tough Cookie, Forceful Martial Arts at 2, and Adrenaline Spike.
Okay.
So far, I'm just now getting through my origin edges, but I have Always Prepared and Hardy 1.
Okay.
I also have a 3 in Aim, so I'll eventually need to get a trick for that.
Yeah. You need to just once you know all your skills, you only get 1 skill trick at start, and it has to be at a thing that is at 3 or above. So you may you'll have to essentially pick if you have more than 1 skill rated at 3 or above, you'll have to pick which one you want to put the skill trick in.
Gotcha.
Or I've decided to go with Empathy 3, Humanities 2, Persuasion 2, Integrity 1, and Culture 1.
Okay.
Every path gave me empathy, so I figured that was a sign that I should have 3 dots in that one.
It was a sign. You're the best fixer ever. You're so empathetic.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have Aim 1, Athletics 3, Enigmas 1, larceny 3, and survival and technology 1.
Okay.
And I went with athletics 1, close combat 3, empathy 1, integrity 2, larceny 1, and survival 1.
All right.
And I think
Interesting. So there are some edges that are like 3-dot only edges. So you like trick shooter. You can't even pick that at creation then, right?
Well, like I said, you're going to have some extra dots to
right. Okay.
to throw on things, so you will be able to. We'll get to that in a second.
So is it possible to say I'm sort of assigning my edge dots to this and then fill it out with the third dot?
So if it's a 3-dot edge, that it is, which there aren't very many of, but if it is a 3-dot edge that's being offered by your path, if it is, you can't take it as part of your character creation. There shouldn't be. If there are, that's...
Yeah, there's a couple.
I'm just curious.
If there are, there's a couple of them. It's also because when you buy an edge associated with one of your paths, it's cheaper. So some of the paths may have like something better. I think that's true. I'm trying to find.
Wait, I think I missed. Hang on, I can just read this. 15 points worth of edges using each edge's maximum number of dots.
Yes. So that's if you're creating a path. So some of the paths may not seem like they have a lot of edges because they have, of course, 15 is incorrect.
So like for edges, for me, for like starting off as an adventurer, it said like breath control, cool under fire, demolitions training, direction sense, fast draw, free running, hardy, and swift. I can pick a couple of these.
Yeah, you'll essentially, so most of those only are 1-dot, like fast draw, breath control are 1-dot edges. So you could pick up breath control and fast draw. I think hardy is a 1 or, I have to double check on that one. I think it's a 1 or. Which unfortunately makes you go all the way down to the edges. I had these earlier and it was not as far.
So then I just put 1 dot in each of those when I write down my edges?
Of the ones you pick, yeah.
Right, because you only get 2 dots worth. So you have to look in the, if you scroll down in the edges, you'll see how much each one costs. Because some of them are 1 dot or some of them will have multiple.
Right. So like hardy is a 1, you could take up to 3 dots in hardy, but you could just take 1 dot in it. Right. Where like if you have tough cookie as one of your options, it is a 2-dot edge. So you would put both your dots into tough cookie and that would be the only one you got from that path.
Oh, okay. So about demolitions training.
Demolitions training, I think, is a rated. So I think it's 1 to 3. So you could put 1 dot in that. Or 2 dots if you wanted to just put both your dots into that. Each dot gives you something different. And when we go down to, essentially you'll get more dots to put into edges. And you can like read what your edges do.
And go ahead, Chris.
I was just gonna. I think I've got my edges finalized here. I am gonna have to have a 3 in resolve for one of these. Is that going to be much of an issue once we do attributes?
No, just make sure that you have a 3 in resolve.
Okay, I was making sure if that was gonna like tap me out on attributes or something. So these are all 1-dot edges or edges that I have only attributed 1 dot to. Always prepared, hardy, fast draw, armor expert, hair trigger reflexes, and sniper. So cool. I am suddenly realizing that my Snake Plissken, but not Snake Plissken character is really only going to, he's going to be very, very good at ranged combat.
Yeah.
So.
Very good.
Well, that's good because I'm going in the exactly opposite direction. I'm going to be very good up close.
Great.
Excellent.
I'm also pretty good at larceny. I ended up with a 3 in larceny because I figured, hey, why not? But I have a feeling a lot of us are going to have high larceny. Is what it's sounding like.
So
Yeah, probably.
I have a,
I
I'm
might.
putting
I-
no dots in larceny, so that's all you.
That's all of us.
Yeah, you guys can.
As always, you're like the one sane person in a room full of chaotic neutrals.
I might redistribute 2 of those larceny dots and put them somewhere. I'm not for sure yet, but I'll figure that out.
I did
I
have
think
a
I'm
quick.
probably doing the distraction while you guys are doing the heist.
That's probably fair. I had a quick question about skill tricks. It
Yes.
says here you can purchase a stunt as a skill trick. Is that? Am I understanding that right?
Okay. Are you reading? Did you go like further on to skill tricks?
Yeah,
And
I
you're
just
reading about skill
was
tricks.
scrolling down, reading about them because I
So
couldn't find like a list of them. That's all.
yeah, there is a list of them eventually in the skill trick section. There are essentially a few per skill.
Okay, cool.
That starts on page 45.
Oh, I bet I scrolled right past it.
Yeah. So if you're making a brand new skill trick, you can essentially the skill trick can replicate the effect of a stunt, and there are stunts in the combat section of like different things you can do with your successes. Okay. But this is about creating a brand new skill trick. If you don't like any of the skill trick examples that are presented for this session, I am going to suggest that if you pick a skill trick, you pick it from the list, just because
Sure.
I don't want to spend a bunch of time creating these skill tricks.
Where is the list of skill tricks? I guess
it starts on page 45. I guess it starts on page 46 actually with aim, but essentially this is aim, and it's essentially, it tells you what the skill is and like how to, like, things you could roll with the skill, and then some skill tricks after it.
Gotcha. All right, cool.
Yeah. So, but if everybody has their edges done and their skills done.
One stupid question. How many points do we have in edges total then? 6?
6.
Okay.
It's not a dumb question. All right. So now that you have this, you are going to assign 6 more dots among any skill that you want. So this is how you pick up skills that aren't part of your paths. Just, you can't bring anything above 5.
And you said it's a 6 total?
6 dots. 6
Fantastic.
So yeah, 6 additional dots to distribute. So when you're done assigning dots to all your skills, you should have a total of 15 dots amongst all your skills.
So more skills.
So more skills, yes.
I am excited. This is great.
And Milena, you're like super larceny, right? Like, don't you have like 4 or something?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna back out my larceny to 1 and raise my athletics to 3.
Yeah. And Milena, athletics may also be good for your character who is a cat burglar, because athletics is what you use to do things like scaling a building or
I have
through a window.
Athletic already.
Okay. Just for, for the sake of reminding.
Thank you. Yes.
I think I got.
I have like 0 empathy though. Like
that's fine. That's fine. That's what Rachel's character's for.
I've got 2 dots in empathy, which allows me to pity the fool.
Yeah. Right.
Athletics 2, close combat 5.
That would be a great custom trick.
Perhaps down the road I can pick that one up.
I like it.
Yeah, I went with Deadly Strike for my close combat skill trick.
Okay.
And then Integrity 2, Larceny 2, Survival 2. So I'm basically like built around being able to throw one hellacious punch.
You will do that one thing very well.
I guess while we're going down it, let's see. I have aim 4, athletics 3, close combat 1, command 1, integrity 2, larceny 1, medicine 1, and pilot 2. I see that 1 dot of medicine not obviously being like a doctor, but it's more, you know,
Like you
combat
can put
first
aid on.
yeah, combat first aid, you know.
Okay.
I got aim 2, athletics 3, close combat 2, enigmas 1, larceny 4, persuasion 1, and technology 2.
Okay.
I just want to say how much I really love the gun tool trick. I don't know if I'm going to take this one.
It's really great.
But I love it so much. I think I want to take it just because it feels very 80s action hero, you know?
It's a good skill
It
trick.
does.
So I've ended up culture 3, empathy 3, humanities, persuasion, and command at 2, close combat at 1, because it seems like she should be able to defend herself at least a little bit.
Oh, I agree.
Integrity at 1, and I went with grain of truth for her skill trick.
Okay. And then
Yeah,
if you
I'm
have
taking
any
gun tool. It's too good.
Okay. And then if you have anything at 3 dots or higher, you gain a specialty in it. And the way the specialties work is it can be any kind of word. It should be kind of specific, but not so specific. So, you know, you could, if you have firearms, you could have, you know, a specialty in rifles, which would give you a specialty in all forms of rifles, from assault rifles to, you know, the breech loading, whatever. But not smaller handheld guns, or you could do handheld guns, or, you know, handguns. And so all handguns would be, you know, your specialty. And the way that specialties work is when you are taking an action with another skill, so not aim. So if you have, I'm going to use aim as our example because I think it's interesting, but any skill specialty can work this way. If you're taking an action and you have, say, handguns as your skill specialty in aim, and say you're taking a culture action in which you're trying to understand something via culture, and somehow your knowledge about handguns can help you with that role, you will gain enhancement to your role because of your specialty. Does that make sense? So essentially, if your special knowledge in one area will help you in other areas, then it does. It gives you an enhancement to that action. So if you have a, say, martial artist specialty, then you may be able to apply it on a medicine check to identify a broken bone, because you know what those look like because you've broken bones before, things like that. So the skill specialties can be, if you're doing, like, if it's pilot, it could be something like, off-road vehicles or military vehicles or boats or things like that. Something that is broad enough to cover multiple different things, but not so broad that it covers literally everything that the skill would cover. So
for instance, like sleight of hand.
Yeah, for larceny, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. So like I'm a magician.
A stage magician, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I'm turning into Ventana.
Boxing, I assume, would be okay for close combat.
Absolutely.
What
And
would be
how
some
about for
good
skill
ones?
tricks? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just wondering what some good specialties would be for culture and empathy.
So for culture, you could do something like memes. So, you are essentially know your meme. You could also do something like a specific culture. So, maybe you have a specialty in Native American cultures, or you have a specialty in Western European cultures, or something like that.
I think I like memes.
I like memes, so I threw it out first. And then humanities is kind of like your
empathy.
Oh, empathy.
Yeah.
So that could be anything from like understanding others, or being a good listener, or any of the like emotional labor, or
Can I take my specialty in emotional labor?
yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do that.
That's good. We're all gonna need it. Like the three of us do not seem like the emotional labor types. So
No, not at all. So I was thinking for the skill tricks, I would like an opinion because I am torn, but I can only pick one, right?
Yes.
To start off with.
Yes.
So for athletics, there's obviously the physical actors, pretty cool. But for larceny, there's handcuff Houdini, or that was already mine, which that was already mine sounds like would be awesome. It's like, what? This giant statue that was, it's mine. Like, I brought it with me. Clearly, check your video cameras, you know? Like,
right.
So I can't decide. They're all so cool. Probably Houdini would be the best one.
I think I was gonna say I think handcuff Houdini. So all of these are very situationally specific, and a lot of the skill tricks are. So it's, what do you think is gonna, are you, because this is both good for slipping your own handcuffs, but also you can take off your handcuffs and put them on someone else. So yes. Like, I like the idea of, oh, you've been captured by, these guards and they're leading you away. And then you like turn around and it's like, or you're in the interrogation room and you've been sitting there the whole time, and then you get up to walk away and the cop's like, you can't leave, you're handcuffed to the desk. And be like, oh no, you're handcuffed to the desk. And then you walk out.
That sounds like the best one.
That's some Carmen Sandiego stuff right there, just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Pretty cool.
Okay. And then, so if you've done picking your skill trick and your specialties, then we are going to, now we're finally getting to attributes.
I'm so used to this coming first.
Yes, but yes.
No, it's cool that it's not. It's fun. I kind of like doing it this way.
So design insight into why you pick your skills before you pick your attributes is because skills are the essential part of how you decide what you're doing in this game. So you don't just punch someone because you're strong. You punch someone because you're skilled in close combat. You don't, you don't just pick a lock because you're smart. You pick a lock because you're skilled in larceny. So the skills are the focal point of how you pick what you're going to do in the game. And the skills are not natively paired to attributes. So just because you're going to punch somebody doesn't mean you're going to put your full force of might behind it, right? You may instead want to try to do a strategic punch that is going to, like a nerve punch and knock their hand, into numbness, right? And maybe that's not a might thing, but instead a precision thing.
I like that. It's really cool.
So yeah, so to emphasize that your skill is your driving force, and then your attribute is just how you're doing the skill. We essentially put skill in front of attribute every single time we talk about it, including in character creation. So, all right. So to talk about attributes, so we have mental, physical, social, and at character creation, you can't go above a 5 in any of these. So the way that it works is you're going to pick a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary in these 3 arenas of mental, social, or physical. And you're going to distribute once you know which one is your primary, which one is your secondary, which one is your tertiary, you're going to distribute 6 dots to your primary. You're going to do 4 dots to your secondary, and you're going to do 2 dots to your tertiary. So 6, 4, 2.
Okay.
And your character sheet has it, but you start with a single dot in all the attributes.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling I'm jumping ahead. Sorry if I am, but we're not picking force, finesse, or resilience yet, right?
Not yet. That'll come in a moment.
Okay. Okay.
Right, because the arenas are the ones that are effectively in the boxes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are the classic storyteller attributes
Yeah.
that we've stolen for StoryPath. And by stolen, I mean you can't copyright that stuff.
So it's 6, 4, 2.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I put a lot of dots in manipulation.
That's cool.
That's good because I didn't put any in there.
Okay, well,
Same.
I didn't put any dots in might or stamina.
That's fair.
I have
So
a
you guys are gonna have to protect me.
I have a dexterity 4, cunning 3, stamina 3. Those are my big hitters.
Yeah, the my sort of concept that I was kicking around actually, Rachel, was since we're both Archangel, maybe I was or am your muscle, like I'm your bodyguard, basically.
We're sent out as a team. I like it.
And then that also puts us both the same place to get framed easily.
Yeah. It was an inside job.
Yeah.
Oh no.
This is backing up a little bit to specialties, but is automatics too broad for an aim specialty?
So I'm going to be like super real here and confess that I know the minimal amount of information about guns that a human could possibly know.
It's all good.
That's actually more specific than saying pistols.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could get away with pistols and that would work.
Right. I mean, I guess how I look at it is like this would cover also like multiple weapon types. Like there are automatic pistols, there are automatic rifles.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So I think automatic weapons would be fine.
Right.
You're just not good with those revolver things.
Yeah. I mean, it's the 80s and he has really bad tattoos on his chest.
Is it the 80s or did you just decide that it's the 80s?
It's the 80s in my character's head. That's all that matters.
The 80s in so many humans' heads. Just so real.
I mean, it might be, 2035. I don't know, but it's 1987,
It's
and
definitely not 2035. It could be 1987. I'm okay with that being when we set our game, but we'll move forward and decide on that in a minute. Okay. Once you have your primary, your secondary, and your tertiary, and your 6, 4, 2 assigned to those dots, now you are going to pick a favored approach. And your approaches are how your character normally approaches a problem. So it's regardless of what arena you're acting in, you have like, I am always forceful, or I'm always trying to find a finesse way of doing this, or I'm always just very stoic about things, right? So force, finesse, or resilience. And this is how your character approaches most problems on a general basis. So think of it that way.
I'm definitely finesse.
Right.
I took
So,
force.
okay. So whatever your approach is, you're going to assign one attribute dot to every attribute in that, like across the board.
That's cool.
So you'll get 1 in, if you picked force, you'll get 1 in might, 1 in, I'm not looking at the character sheet, so let me do
Intellect and 1 in presence.
Yes. Yes, 1 in intellect, 1 in might, and 1 in presence. This cannot bring you above 5 dots. There are 6 dots on the character sheet, so don't let that confuse you. This cannot bring you above 5 dots. If you already have 5 dots in that thing, so say if you put all your dots into manipulation and you have 5 in there already and you pick finesse, then that extra dot just goes somewhere else within that arena. So you can put it in presence or composure. You don't lose the dot. It just can't bring you up to 6.
It just brought me to 5 in 2 of them.
Okay,
so.
that's fine.
Yes, I'm at manipulation 5.
Woohoo.
Me too. High 5.
I got my might up to 5, so that's good.
Cool. All right.
I don't have any 5s, but I have 2 4s and 3 3s, so I'm a bit, I guess, a little bit more well-rounded.
Yeah, a little bit of a generalist there.
That's okay. It's not a bad place to be for this game. Okay, so now that we've done attributes, we are going to apply the talent template. So that, so now we're going to start talking about what makes you beyond ordinary. Your talents. The first thing that you need to pick when you're applying the template for a talent is what happened to you. What is the moment that you went from normal, ordinary human person to inspired, extraordinary person? This is called the moment of inspiration. And if you look on page 156.
Hold on 1 second. I'm getting some noise in the background. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Okay, it's gone.
It has stopped. It sounded like somebody was waving tinfoil.
or making popcorn. I was the one who was making very loud popcorn.
Yes.
I don't know where it was coming from, but it's gone now.
Okay.
All right. Please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
Nope, you're fine. So if you look on page 156, you'll start seeing different moments of inspiration. And when we pick your moment of inspiration, it's essentially going to define a little bit of your background. So this is going to help you with who your character is and be kind of a background definer, but it's also going to give you an extra point in an attribute. And so essentially each moment of inspiration has an associated attribute, and you can pick, some of them are like any attribute, so you can just put a dot into any attribute after you pick it. Some of them may be like any physical attribute. Some of them may be specific. You get a dot and resolve. If that dot would bring you above a 5th dot, then we'll move it to the next closest attribute, if that makes any sense. So if it would be resolved, then you would need to put it in another mental attribute kind of thing. So your options are chance birth. So maybe you were never supposed to be born. You had a terminal disease after you were born that you survived against all odds. Maybe you died during childbirth, but the doctors brought you back to life. You essentially survived birth against all odds in some way. And the only real way is that this inspiration is what kept you alive. You reacted to inspiration, and because you're damn lucky, you survived. And if anybody hears one of these and says like, that's me, I'm doing it, then I'll just tell you the associated attribute. Kitty.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Crowley wants some attention, apparently.
Yeah. Exposure to flux. So flux is the thing that makes you, essentially, that you react to, that gives you your inspiration. It's also the weirdness that occurs when 2 dimensions like kind of overlap and get like on each other.
Ooh, I love that one.
Okay, so exposure to flux. So you were exposed to it somehow.
I was stealing it.
Oh, okay. So you're stealing something that had flux. Cool. So you'll get an attribute point in any physical attribute that you want to pick.
And those are the top 3 ones, right?
What do you mean?
Nope,
No,
those are the-
physical. Physical. So might, dexterity, or stamina.
Okay, and it can't go more than 5, right?
It can't bring you above 5. So if you wanted to pick one that would bring you above 5, you cannot pick a different one.
Okay.
All right. Life-threatening accident. The character survived a terrible accident that without inspiration would have absolutely killed you. So you may have survived a terrible car crash, a fall from a great height, a gunshot to the head, something you were gonna die and then you didn't.
Does it have to be accidental?
No.
I think I'll take that one then.
Yeah, I mean, a gunshot to the head is often not accidental. I mean, it absolutely can be.
Right. And my thoughts are, something when I was, serving in the military, something I had a near-death experience.
Yep. Okay.
Got blown up, something
Right.
like that.
So your associated attribute for that is stamina.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay. So now we have personal failure. So you failed at something of the utmost importance. The failure was so terrible and soul-crushing that you were ready to give up everything, but instead you were inspired to continue moving past the defeat. Maybe you failed to stop a friend from committing suicide, or you worked all your life towards one goal only to fail in the last moment. Whatever it was, even if you weren't responsible, you feel completely responsible for the outcome. And then you, instead of giving up, you were inspired to overcome. Saving someone else's life. The character was inspired to step up and save someone's life in a situation in which no one else could do the job. Maybe he talked down a jumper as he passed her on a bridge, turning her life around. Maybe the character was inspired to rush into a burning building to save a family before anyone else could arrive on the scene. Maybe he chased down a car after witnessing a woman being kidnapped, catching the serial murderer in the act. Social challenge. The character overcame certain embarrassment or harassment in public that without inspiration would have caused her to cave. Maybe you were confronted by a long-term tormentor in a public setting, bringing the harassment to light. Or you stood up to the threat of extreme embarrassment with poise and grace. Sudden realization. The character's inspiration came at the same time as an unexpected realization. You may have realized the sudden answer to an unsolvable mathematical equation, or you might have been struck by inspiration to discover the key to perfect genetic cloning. Some kind of, you didn't just have a realization, oh man, I know where I left my keys. It was like groundbreaking realization. Tragic loss. The character has lost someone very close to her. The loss of which was so devastating, the only thing that kept you from breaking was inspiration. Maybe your parents were violently murdered right in front of you when you were a small child, or maybe your spouse or children died in a car accident. You were the sole survivor.
I'm going with that one, by the way.
Okay. Your associated attribute for that is any mental attribute.
Great.
All right. Violence. The character survived a particularly brutal attack. Her reaction may have been to find a clever way to thwart their attackers, or maybe you fought them off in a stunning display of physical prowess. Either way, your survival was dependent on your inspiration.
What does that grant for your ability?
Might.
Okay. I was gonna say, because mine kind of counts as that too, but I already have a might of 5, which I would then put it into stamina anyway. So
right, might as well just do that one. Yeah. All right. I think, was it Rachel? Did you still need one?
Yes, I'm going with violence.
Oh, so you're going with violence? Okay.
Yeah, so I was looking at personal failure, but I think it's a better story if she had to fight her way out of the consequences of the brain job.
Okay.
That's really cool.
I like it. Okay. So now you have a bunch of advantages because you are more than a normal human. So we're going to get inspiration and gifts. So the way that this works, let's do the inspiration first because I think it's a little easier. And then we'll pick gifts, and there's a lot of gifts to pick from. So this is one of those things where it may take forever to pick a gift.
Sure.
And that may be a thing, like this is where you pick your powers essentially. So that may be a thing that we like kind of brainstorm, like what kind of thing do you want to do? And then find a gift that lets you do it. So the way that inspiration works is you have 3 what are called facets: intuitive, reflective, and destructive. These facets are essentially the aspects of your inspiration that like where you excel, and they are both kind of an in-game thing of like you're very destructive or you're very reflective. You like to look in on yourself, or kind of reflect on things, or you may be just intuitive. You may pick up things very quickly. So in game, that's kind of how those are applied to you. Out of game, these facets are ways that you spend your inspiration to affect the world around you. And so there's a whole bunch of things that you can spend inspiration on, that is listed on page 153, if you want to go through them. But essentially, each of the facets, so they have these, they kind of have these associated words, right? So destructive is like your intent to accomplish a goal. So it's about direct action and using the force approach to achieve a goal. If a character with a high destructive facet tends to have a knack for breaking down barriers, both in a literal sense of I can knock down doors, but also in breaking down social barriers or mental barriers. It's about working with intention and purpose. You're forthright, assertive, focused, and sometimes unpredictable. Sometimes you're seen as a combination of intuitive and reflexive. Reflective. All right, that's good. And so you're thorough and thoughtful, but you don't shy away from taking quick and risky actions. And you essentially, characters are a mix of all 3 of these. So as I'm describing each of these facets, so you can kind of have an understanding of what each one is, but you have all 3 of these as part of you. Okay. So the intuitive facet is your ability to excel in areas where quick action, quick wits, and quick tongue is helpful. So this is kind of where luck plays in on things. So it's you take an action without thinking and then it just goes your way. It's also connected to your finesse approach, and you're more likely to follow your gut and allow your luck, just the knowledge that you're lucky, to guide you. A character with a high intuitive facet tends to be spontaneous and creative and is more comfortable coming up with a reaction on the spur of the moment than planning things out beforehand. And those things tend to excel for them. You're often aware of your surroundings, even unconsciously, and you're good at working with speed and precision at a moment's notice. The reflective facet is a measure of your capacity for patience, careful thought, planning, and focus, and it's a measure of your resilience. So if you have a high reflective facet, and that word, tends to be very rational, you're calm, you're reliable, you focus on your skills. You're prone to careful planning, excellent achieving long-term goals or focusing on long-term projects. In addition, you're exceptionally good at dealing with distractions and resisting attempts to sway you from a plan once you've decided it. So those are the kind of facets. I'm going to quickly just tell you, essentially, inspiration is what you use to fuel your gifts, which we'll go through in a minute. You can also essentially make a type of action using one of your facets. You spend an inspiration and you gain enhancement to an action equal to your facet rating to a specific kind of action. So for destructive, you would spend a point of inspiration. You would gain your destructive rating as an enhancement to breaking an object, destroying a concept, ruining a relationship. It's not necessarily for damage in combat so much as breaking down a door or destroying somebody's reputation, things like that. If you wanted to you spend your inspiration for intuitive action, this would be, you would get your enhancement to quick thinking or acting instinctively in the moment. So it would be for recovering from a surprise ambush or fast talking a guard or anything that is a quick action. Your reflective action is something that would take careful planning. So if you're planning a heist, taking any kind of extended action, making a gather information, or trying to put some kind of plan into action, you would spend the inspiration and get your reflective facet as an enhancement to that kind of role. So that's how those facets kind of play in, why you would want one over the other to be able to enable you to do those different things with your inspiration. Now that we know what the facets are, you get a number of points to distribute among these three facets. Once you know what your facet rating is, that will determine your inspiration score. It's not super complicated, but I'm going to walk you through it. So you have 3 dots to put into those 3 facets. Okay, so they start at 0 and you have 3 dots. So you could put 1 in each of them. You could put 3 in all 3 in one. However, it's okay to start with 0 in one of them.
I think I'm going to put 2 in intuitive and 1 in reflective.
Okay.
If her inspiration is violence, I sort of see her feeling conflicted over what she had to do. Mm-hmm. And so I don't want to put any in destructive yet.
Okay. That's fine.
Me too.
Okay. Excellent.
I'm going 2 destructive, 1 intuitive, I believe.
Okay.
And I think I will be going 2 destructive, 1 reflective.
Okay. Now that we know what your facet ranks are, you start with a single point of inspiration. And you then gain an additional point of inspiration when any one of your facets reaches the following ranks: 1, 3, and 5. So none of you have a facet at 3. That's fine. But you started at inspiration 1, and for each facet that you have at least at rank 1 in, you get an additional inspiration. So all of you essentially start with 3 inspiration.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool.
I'm assuming, are there like gifts and edges and stuff that play off of the facets? Like, well, let's say like, okay.
Yeah.
Like add your destructive score to whatever.
Yes. There are.
Awesome.
A lot of them are skill-based, but some of them do pull in your facets as well. So, okay. Now that we've added now we have your facets, we have your inspiration. Now we're gonna, you know what? Let's do our final touches and then we'll pick gifts, because gifts just they're a bunch. So let me because this will just be really easy. So you get a bonus trait. You get another attribute dot to put anywhere you want on the board. Just you can't bring something above 5.
So we get 1 more point?
We get 1 more attribute point.
I'm going to put mine in cunning.
Let's go into stamina.
All right. You're going to get
stamina.
Okay. Now you're going to get 4 more dots of edges. So this is how you could pick up like a 3-dot edge, or flesh out an edge that you only have 1 dot in and maybe 1 and 2 dots in. earlier, and these don't have to be from your paths. In fact, they just need to follow whatever prerequisites the edges have, but you get 4 more dots in edges.
Can they be brand new edges, like brand new 1 dot? Okay, sweet.
Yeah. Yep. And this is where I will suggest that they come from outside your paths. This is the only place where there can be a little wiggly, because if a path is giving you an edge when you purchase it with XP, you spend 1 less XP per dot that you're buying.
Yeah, so if you're kind of gaming the system a bit, you can get some cheaper edges.
Yeah, I mean, you're because it's 4 points worth of edges, you're only really missing out on 4 experience points if you were to buy them from within paths. So it's not like a huge disconnect, but it is the one place where maybe you should buy them from outside of paths.
I like that.
But if you like your path edges, then like grab them, because
now I have demolitions.
Yes.
Yeah, I was actually looking at demolitions training as well.
I'm gonna be like that guy from Atlantis.
And these do spend 1 for 1 if you're building on an existing edge, correct?
Yes. Absolutely. So if you had wealth 1 and want to bring it up to wealth 5, just throw those dots in there.
Amazing.
Can we pick up inspired or enhanced edges?
You can pick up inspired edges because you are, you may not be able to pick up an enhanced edge just because you might not meet the prerequisite for it.
Okay.
Just because those are you need a 5 in something, but I doubt you do.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I just happened to look at Cool Under Fire, and it says essentially what it does is you gain an additional dodge when you purchase a stunt dive. I mean, I know this is probably like a deep mechanics thing, but generally, what is a stunt dive?
So stunt dive for cover.
Yeah.
So it's not stunt dive; it's the stunt.
Gotcha.
It should be dive for cover.
Gotcha. Okay.
And diving for cover is a defensive stunt that you can take that essentially gives you weird bonus health levels from whatever you dove under, that people have to break through to get to you. Okay. And so awesome. So when you gain an additional dodge, essentially that allows you to both increase your own defense as well as pulling yourself some cover.
Yeah, I'm going to take that. So I brought Hardy up to 2, I brought Sniper up to 2, and I bought Cool Under Fire.
And you have the Integrity 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I have Integrity 3, I think. Nope, Integrity 2. But still, I meet it.
I have Breath Control, Fast Draw, Free Running at 3, Cool Under Fire, Demolitions Training, Swift, and Covert at 2.
I really like my path edges, so I'm rounding out Library and Iron Will, but I am picking up a dot in Safe House, so we do have a crash pad.
All right. Always thinking ahead.
Always thinking ahead.
That's a Rovena, I know.
I went with, I already had the Tough Cookie, Forceful Martial Arts 2, and Adrenaline Spike. I added Endurance and Hardy 1.
Okay.
So.
And is what, just, Milena, really quickly, is one of your paths giving you covert?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just making.
Yeah, Le Phantom.
Okay. I thought so. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Cool. Which is why I was like, I don't need to buy any because my paths are pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, now we're going to talk about gifts.
All right.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do when we talk about gifts are based in one of three different ways. They're either a luck gift. Anybody can take a luck gift. They're an attribute keyword or a skill keyword, and that is how they're sorted. So your paths give you your keywords to which gifts you are associated with, if that makes any sense. And so there is a chart for your origin and role paths. And then if you look back at the reference, it'll tell you the allegiance gives you a bunch of skills. It says gifts, and then it's skills. And so these are the keywords associated with your allegiance paths.
What page is that on?
It's in that other PDF.
It's in the core reference booklet.
Mm-hmm.
When you were looking at the talent allegiance paths.
Which one do you have, Archangel?
Yeah, Archangels.
Yes. You have skill, close combat, empathy, and persuasion.
Right.
Thank you.
You got it.
Right. So the way that this works, and this is just unfortunately a lot of reading and a lot of picking, is you get one gift per path you have. So it needs to match. So you can essentially pick a gift from one of the keywords that you have. So for each path that you have, and each path gives you a set of keywords. So at least you have a way to narrow your search options for what you want to pick as a gift. And then you get one extra gift that can be anything. So it could be luck, or it could be outside of one of your paths.
Okay.
Is it out? Let me double check.
Awesome.
This
is so freaking cool.
And where's
I'm thrilled, honestly.
Where's the chart for the paths?
For the keywords, it's on page 155.
Excellent, thank you.
Let me double check that that's true. Yeah. And then the only thing about gifts, again, is that you need to meet all requirements of the gift to begin play with it at character creation. So some of them have like a skill or a edge or an attribute requirement. And you just need to, and it'll say prerequisite, right? You just need to meet the prerequisite. Not all of them have prerequisites. If you want to, so gifts, I would pick your path gifts first, just because there's a lot of luck gifts and you can exclude reading them right now until you need to pick an extra gift.
But for your path gift, you only have that through your allegiance path, correct?
Nope, you get one for every path.
Oh, okay.
So you get 3 gifts. You're gonna start with a total of 4 gifts.
4, yeah, okay.
One from each path, and then one of your choosing. And essentially it starts with intellect. It starts with essentially the top of the mental track, the way the attributes are. So it starts with intellect, and there's a couple, I think there's 3 per attribute, and then several per skill. And so you just kind of have to read them. And you'll see in so gifts, aptitude gifts start on page 201 with intellect. And you will see that you may have a skill or a attribute, that's the word I'm looking for, or an attribute prerequisite. You'll also see keywords, and these keywords are just essentially linking you back to you needed that keyword on your path to take this. And then they're either momentary or they're constant. Momentary are things that you activate and they happen and then they're done. constant are things that will essentially almost always be active. So if you're wondering like, oh, is this something that happens immediately, or is it just you can just do it all the time? So that'll help you kind of know, oh, this is something I'm probably gonna have to spend for, or this is something that's always going to be on now that I have it.
So do all the paths have, because you said that it's one gift per path, so one for being an adventurer, one for being a sneak, and one for being, but only the Le Fantôme has like specific ones. Yeah.
So that is so in the path, yes, because the allegiances are associated with playing a talent. In the talent chapter on page 155, there is a table that essentially tells you which keywords are associated with which things.
Oh,
so let me. Oh.
I missed it. I'm
No,
like, I'm
okay.
scrolling through it, but I'm like, where is that? 155, you said.
Yeah. So for adventurer, your keywords are might, pilot, and survival. And the sneak is composure, athletics, and larceny.
I have my gifts chosen.
Thank you.
That was fast.
I went with Fists of Stone from Street Rat, I believe.
Okay.
Last Ditch Effort as my secondary, or as my from anything. Enhanced Impact from Combat Specialist, and Get the Drop from I think that one was from or Get the Drop was from Street Rat. The Fist of Stone was from Close Combat, and one of the other two, either Last Ditch Effort or Enhanced Impact, was from Archangel.
Let me see. Archangel gets
right.
Close Combat, Empathy, Precision. Yeah, I think it was from Archangel.
Yep. So I figure having the stamina of 5, the endurance, hardy, all that stuff, Last Ditch Effort will be easy for me to spend a little bit for. And Get the Drop, as soon as I read that, I immediately thought of the A-Team and setting up weird ambushes. Like people will walk into a dark alley and then we'll all like pop up out of garbage cans and shit.
Yeah, right. Excellent.
So I think that's is that the last thing that we needed to buy?
That is that's the last pick you're going to make on your character sheet. The very last thing you're going to do is you're going to fill in your health boxes, and that's based on your stamina. So I will go over that with you while other people are picking their gifts, so that we're not just sitting in dead air while people are thinking.
Sure.
Because like there's a lot to read through, unfortunately. That's why in the first iteration of this game, gifts were not like this specific like Trinity 2nd edition like gifts were just existing and like listed alphabetically, and they were not grouped by like skill or attribute or anything like that. And so you just got some gifts and had like 100 gifts to read through, and I was like, yeah,
it's a bit of analysis paralysis. I would imagine that could cause.
It is a bit, and so I was like, let's figure out a way to make this less.
Could I interject with a quick gift question?
Yes.
What is a weapon tag? There is a gift called an extension of myself that lets you give the worn tag to a number of weapons. What would that actually do to me? For me?
So weapon tags. So when you so a really quick mechanical thing. So this is something that you should think about based on, and maybe this is something that we can do also because we will want to create weapons for our characters because your character should have weapons. You can make a weapon just based on your wealth rating. Everybody can have like just a basic weapon with no cool tags on it that gives them like one enhancement to do a thing. But if you want cool tags, you need wealth, and that lets you buy things essentially on your weapon. And so when you make a weapon, you give it weapon tags, and each tag does a specific thing. And the worn tag is that the weapon is attached to you somehow. So it is worn on your body.
Okay.
And let me double check exactly how that works. But essentially,
I think it keeps you from being disarmed, basically.
Weapon tag, indirect damage. Oh my god. Yeah, there we go. Weapon tag. Worn. So it's strapped to you. And so if somebody tries to disarm your weapon, they can't. So you're immune to disarming from it. So essentially, like, I have this handgun. Normally, people would be able to knock that shit out of my hand, but I've got it like strapped to my wrist.
Right.
And not really, it's your talent. So like you're just so lucky that nobody can disarm you. But that's how we represent it. Is
okay.
You can.
I got all the weapons I need right here.
Right.
So I've gone with Cold Read, Politico, Behold the Halo, and Always Connected.
Excellent. All very good for your character concept.
Yeah, I'm just really good at looking at someone being like, so exactly who are you?
Tell me everything.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I'm really glad I got Cold Read, because I kind of wanted it as a skill trick. But I like the other one. I took a little bit better, but I'm really glad it showed up again in gifts.
Yeah. Okay, so for the two of you who already have your gifts picked out, we're going to fill in our health boxes. The way that health works is you have essentially health injury conditions that you can take before you're taken out of a combat. And if you have certain injury condition levels, then you're at a penalty. Essentially, this is an increased difficulty to take actions that are associated with the kind of injury condition that you have. So if you're bruised, maybe you have like a bruised arm. And so if you're trying to punch somebody with your bruised arm or climb a ladder with your bruised arm, you're going to be at an increased difficulty. But if you're just trying to read a book, it's not going to affect you at all. And so, or you may have that bruised level, maybe something like a bruised ego, and that may give you a difficulty to doing social things. But it's not going to matter when you go to punch somebody. So it depends on the kind of injury condition that you have, but the ratings are bruised, injured, and maimed. And if you fill up all of your available bruised, injured, maims, and then you take more damage, you get taken out, and you just leave the scene. And we describe how you got taken out of the scene, and then you don't die. You just come back later. Maybe you have to go to the hospital or something. So you start with one bruised, one injured, and one maimed at character creation. If you have stamina 3, you gain an additional injured level. If you have stamina 5, you also gain an additional bruised level.
Okay, so at stamina 1, I should just fill in one bruised box, one injured box, and one maimed box.
That is correct.
Okay.
And I have more.
There's 2 blank lines. What are those for?
The blank lines are so sometimes armor may give you an additional bruised injury box that you could fill in. That essentially you don't fill it in with a condition. Essentially, it absorbs a condition that you would normally take, and you can have up to 2 additional bruised levels from armor, and so they're just there to fill in for that.
Right, because I have an extra bruised from endurance.
Right. Yeah, there's different ways that you can get extra injury levels, and so we just kind of leave some blank so you could fill them in.
And doesn't soft armor give you?
Soft armor gives you essentially a bonus to your defense. Okay. Hard armor gives you health level.
Yeah, because I've got soft armor from Tough Cookie.
Yes.
All right, so I have picked my gifts.
Okay.
Get the drop, which I know that I think Travis had that as well. Hopefully, it's still kind of useful to have multiple people with it. I'm not for sure though.
It's a cost to activate, I believe. So yeah, the more of us, the merrier.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I can at least like save you some resources. Yeah. Trigger discipline, which seemed really cool. Sawed off, which was kind of cool. Like you can basically strip down any sort of device or weapon to make it smaller for concealment and such. And then steely gaze, which is your standard action hero stare them down and make them wet themselves.
Yes.
I don't care about your president.
I think the line that I want to try to use in the one shot at one point is I'm going to give you assholes one chance or something like that. I think it's from Escape from New York, but yeah.
I think it repeated in Escape from LA because literally it's the same movie.
they are.
Yes.
One has more water in it, I think.
Yeah, one has surfing.
Right.
All right.
I was really looking for some sort of eye patch related anything, and I couldn't find it. So oh well. I guess that'll just be a part of the character.
It'll just be a look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how is defense calculated?
So your defense, your defense is 1.
Okay.
And then you add a number of dots to it based on a roll. And so your roll is whichever resilience attribute makes the most sense, you pick at the time. Some other things may add a like extra dice to that roll, to your defense roll. And then you can essentially like, I don't know how to describe it. You spend it on either adding to your defense whenever you take a dodge action. So it's the dodge stunt will add it to your defense, or you could do things like dive for cover and, find cover. So essentially you make a defensive action when somebody goes to attack you, and then you either apply that to your defense or you try to get out of the way or dive for cover or something like that. So there's stunts that you spend that on. And we'll do a little bit of a rundown of the rules before we do the one shot so that you kind of know how that works. And we'll do, we'll definitely go through a combat so you'll get to experience it.
Sweet. And that is, I believe that, right? Milena, you're still digging through your gifts?
Yeah, I kind of have an idea. I'm missing just one so far. So moving target, I think is really cool because I'm just going to be like Jackie Channing it. Just
right.
Great. Constantly, nobody can hit me. And then for my like unrelated to my things, I thought device mogul because it's like, oh, we need to like night vision goggles. Like I have like a pair, like obviously. And then for the other one, I thought that's bad luck makes sense because since I got like powers from touching something with flux, the ability to recognize anything that has flux in it is like makes sense, right? And I'm just missing one, which I don't know if I want something like athletic or something kind of manipulative.
I mean, you could also look at, let's see. So
maybe forgettable since I'm like a spy.
Let's see. Well, you picked device mogul as your non.
Yeah. As my luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. What's the path that you haven't filled yet?
I haven't filled my the sneak, I don't think.
Okay.
Because I have like repeats in athletics and larceny.
Right.
So I was like, maybe I focus on that.
Right. Let's see. Let me. also do.
Maybe lightning reflexes so that it can get better initiative.
That would certainly come in handy.
From athletics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was also
But
thinking.
say that to my face just sounds like it would cause a lot of troubles, and that also sounds fun.
I was thinking that like taking a composure one would be good. So.
What were you thinking?
Like something from composure. Let me see.
Well, and just thinking too about like what's going to help you break into and out of places.
Yeah. But like some of these I kind of already have with like special skills like sleight of hand and stuff like that. They have it as a gift, but I'm like, I don't need it because I have that.
There's nothing wrong with stacking that stuff up though if you can.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I'm really designed around being able to punch somebody so hard that their descendants feel it. Like that's what my entire character is built around. And being able to take a punch. That's basically it.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, I think because you already have, let's see. Wait, you already have the Houdini. Yeah, I mean,
ooh, how about the in and in? That one sounds cool.
Which
yeah.
It's like the in and in is like a larceny.
Yeah.
Skill.
If you're in charge of the whatever the con, the heist, the scam, you can spend an inspiration. Anybody working under you can use your larceny skill as if instead of their own.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's actually, I think that's really good for your group.
Yeah, because we're not all that great with that stuff.
Yeah.
And I already have maxed out larceny.
Yeah, I think that's really good for your group. And then you could be like, oh, we're doing the heist. I'm clearly in charge here.
Yeah, like we're stealing shit. Hello.
It's like a jam.
I just looked up at the clock and realized we're 20 minutes over.
Yes,
so
we are.
Probably,
that's why I wanted to do gifts last, because I'm like, oh, if you pick gifts after we're done, then you pick gifts after we're done. So that's it. We're out of time. What I'm not exactly sure when our one shot is going to be. So I guess if you're watching, stay tuned to the Onyx Path, and we will announce when our one shot for this is going to be. But you will be seeing us playing these characters. Oh, last thing that you need to do for your character is give it a name.
That's the hard part. We'll do that.
I know it's the hard part. You can do that
just
on your own.
Call me Snake just call me Snake is going in the actual fiddle for name on the character.
I already named her Charlie.
Okay. All right. So was it Rachel said Charlie?
Yes.
I will not actually call my character Snake. I'll come up with something here in a bit.
Okay. Well,
Iguana.
Oh my god.
Salamander.
Ooh, I like that.
Something like the asp. Like just something that's very
oh no.
Asp is cool.
Snake adjacent.
My name's
Viper.
I would prefer not asp because it sounds too much like ass. And I don't want to be calling you ass all the time.
That's true.
That's fair. I think I'm gonna go with CB Turner.
CB Turner.
Yep. I'm because that's one letter after BA, and then I'm also Mr. T.
All right.
So you can call me any of those things.
All right.
But yeah, as far as with the one-shot scheduling, our new schedules generally post on Monday in the afternoon. So just keep an eye on that. If you haven't done so, please do follow and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll know when we go live. And if you're an Amazon Prime user, you get Twitch Prime, which gives you 1 free sub a month, and we would love to be your free sub. So those are all options to keep track of when this amazing action story gets brought forth as our one shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. So thank you all for helping for making characters with me today. And thank everybody who watched. I hope that you got some enjoyment out of our antics. And so that's it. So we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you all so much.
It was really fun.
you.
Thanks, guys.
I'll
Thank
awkward
you.
wave and
Bye.